have completed 10th foundation day, and we have missed Suresh Prabhu sir very badly. He is not able to come, but he has sent his message through the video. We are grateful to you, sir, and we welcome Sri Suresh Prabhu, Honorable Member of Parliament, 6 times Member of Parliament, 4 times from Lok Sabha and 2 times from Rajya Sabha, and he hold 10 cabinet portfolio. He is also Chancellor of Rishi Hood University and regularly guiding CEGR as one of the mentor. We are blessed to have his guidance regularly. We are grateful to you, sir, for always accepting our invitation and addressing the CEGR. So we are grateful to you, sir. And now I look forward to the words of wisdom by Sri Suresh Prabhu, sir, Honorable Member of Parliament. Today we have very eminent edu promoters from all over India. So from my right screen, we have Dr. Manish Kothari, founder and MD, ISBR Business School, Bengaluru. Then we have Dr. Sandeep Marwa, National President CEGR and Chancellor AFT University. Then we have Dr. Anupam Chokse, Pro Chancellor LNCT University. Then we have Mr. Praveen Thakral, Chancellor Oriental University, Indore, and we have Mr. Nishant Bansal, Pro Chancellor Gita University. Then we have Engineer B.S. Yadav, Chancellor IAS University. Then we have Mr. V.M. Bansal, Chairman New Delhi Institute of Management and Senior Vice President CEGR. Then we have Mr. Anand Soni, Pro Chancellor AKS University. Then we have Mr. Gaurav Thakral, Pro Chancellor Oriental University Indore. And we have Mr. Hemant Sahal, founder and CEO Colpol. So we welcome you all, and I look forward to the words of wisdom by Sri Suresh Prabhu sir. Thank you, sir, for always supporting us. Sir, you are on the mute mode, sir.
Good morning, my friends, and thank you very much for organizing this event at the right time, when we need to really introspect and plan as to what we really need to do to remain relevant in this modern world means of education. It is actually a strange phenomenon that India had one of the oldest, not one of the, probably the oldest university in the world. Of course, unfortunately got destroyed. They could destroy the infrastructure, but not the spirit. And despite having such oldest university in the world amongst us, today we cannot count amongst the best universities in the world. When there is a ranking that is given to the top universities of the world, we rarely find an Indian university finding a place into top 10, top 20, top 25. And that's the paradox. So we really need to introspect from that perspective as to why we have gone down in that area when we cannot claim a rightful place amongst the best universities in the world, when we have the best minds in the country, best minds in the world living in India. So this is one of the challenges that we really need to look at. Also, we need to plan, as my friend was earlier saying, that foreign universities might come, they'll come with the best of infrastructure, and they will pose competition to the Indian university. I have a view that while it is absolutely essential and necessary to create the best of infrastructure in bricks and mortar, but also we should not overlook the fact that education cannot be the best only when it is given in the best infrastructure facility. The hardware is infrastructure, but the software is the thought that goes into the education. And therefore, while focusing on infrastructure, which is hardware, very essential, top class, we must do that. We should also, at the same time, not lose sight of an important aspect as to how we'll make education as a best form of helping a student to begin with. Then student becoming part of a society and transforming the society in his own way, and eventually help in nation building activities. Same time, when we do nation building, how he'll become an integral part of a global society, which is as important. Because in modern times, we have already become so integrated to one another that if we are not understanding the relationship between the rest of the world and India, individual society and the country will not be able to succeed and achieve the whole objective of education. So I think all of these must be kept in mind when we plan for proper education system, education thoughts in education, and that is what is very important from my perspective. Now coming to this important aspect of software which I mentioned. One, as I said, there's a paradox that we are the best university in the world and today we are not amongst, forget the best, not even among the better ones. So now the second paradox is that education, purpose of education should be to change the mindsets of people. When we say change the mindset, somewhere down the line we believe that we must create a unique mindset for individual or a mindset which is generalized for everybody to follow. If everybody is going to have the same mindset, it's good in a way because then we are creating sort of a uniformity. For itself is a challenge because education job is to open your minds for adapting to reality, change the surroundings around you. And if you want to do that, each individual being made of a different kind, a unique personality with a unique DNA, how can you say that everybody should think the same way? So while it is essential that we give some sort of input, I'll come to it in a minute. But before that, I think, and that's why I was talking about paradox, the education must be able to open the minds of people to think in his own way, looking at the world, and therefore we should not just bombard him with the idea that we have, but help him to open his mind to new ideas. And that's what should be the one of the principal objective of education. Make an individual open his inner mind, his capabilities that are hidden somewhere down in his own self to come to fore so that he can really explore himself and in a process explore rest of the world to create a better world. So that should be the one of the purpose of education is to allow individual to deep dive into his own self and use that inner capabilities to actually realize his own potential and then help the rest of the world and society. So that should be the principal objective of education is to open minds of people. While it is true that individuals must think individualistically, we should not forget the fact that I said at the beginning that we are part of a society. We are part of a nation. And each member of the individual member, if he's not able to be integral part of the society, is going to be a challenge. And therefore, this is equally true, while I said, and that's a paradox, that we must also inculcate certain values in an individual, in a student, which will make him an integral part of a society in a manner that he will maintain the ethos, the culture, the essential ingredients of that society in a way that will not create an issue for the society, but also become part of a society to make a society a better society in the world. So to do that, we need to think about what is our societal priorities, what are societal concerns, how do you society accept the viewpoint that every individual is different and therefore every individual must have a space. He must have a right to think differently. He must have an ability to create his own space and create his own ideas. Just imagine if all the members of the society lose this trait of thinking differently, society will never progress. If individual feels that I am going to only follow the dictums and the rules which are prescribed by somebody else, then how will he going to bring in that individuality in his own capabilities to come out with a better solution? we'll never have innovation, we'll never have change, we'll never have better lives. So all the societal challenges that we face will not be addressed if society thinks only in one particular way and follow the same path as a sheepish uh, path. It will never work. So this is another important aspect, that society must also allow the individuals to think differently within the whole parameter without actually bringing the society down, but making the society rise upwards. That's another important aspect of education. While we do this, as I said, society and nation are two different things. Every nation has the ability to progress only when societies underneath are also vibrant. Now, individuals will make the society better, but a nation is a completely different concept. So, in India, we have a nationhood which dates back to a few thousand years. We are the longest living civilization of the world. We have therefore carried forward certain civilizational values. How do you bring those civilizational values into the minds of each and every individual in the country so that he can become an integral part of a nation and the nationhood actually progresses because of that individual? There is nothing like society and nation bereft of individuals. Individuals make the society, individuals make the nation grow. So, individuals' role in the nation building is important, and therefore, that again has to be properly inculcated in the minds through the means of education. I think these are the key elements of education that we should try to bring in. As I said, every individual is different. He has a right to decide differently because that's his own life, his own right. At the same time, we are no longer a nomadic society. We are no longer the foragers and the hunters that we used to be about 12,000 years ago. So we are not that. That means we have decided to settle down together. And that's how the civilization grew. So when we accepted the fact that we'll all live together, it imposes upon us certain obligations. As my right is to live differently, separately, individualistically, but I also have obligation when I accepted the benefits of society to also accept the obligation that is bestowed upon me as a consequence of that. And to do that, I must therefore accept the rules of society, and that creates another very unique situation. Individual has a right, and society is going to be governing these individual rights also in a manner that will not pose threat to them. So, who decides the societal rights? Who will decide the societal rules? That's a very important issue. And there I feel the education can play a key role. The educated people, the minds of educators who will provide that education, must be so enlightened that they can think about the issues to come out with such rules and regulations, not written necessarily, but goes from generation to generation, which can go in to govern the way the societies are ruled and societies are carried out. So, my dear friend, that's another important obligation on the part of educators. Educators must think about this. If your thinking itself is limited and are going to be governed by some antique, opaque ideas, you'll never be able to take yourself forward. So, educators must, to begin with, must become enlightened. They must understand the challenges of modern society, modern world, and they must at the same time not forget our own uniqueness as a society which has carried forward a culture for thousands of years, and to match that requires a lot of different attitude and aptitude on the points of educators. So all of my friends who are chancellors and the vice chancellors and the leaders in the field of education must think on these lines so that we can create a better society, an enlightened society, a far better nation than what we are, carry forward our civilizational values, but also adapt ourselves to the modern needs of the changing world at the same time. So this requires a different kind of mindset for the educators. How can educators first think only expect from students what they don't have? So we must, as educators, as chancellors, as administrators of education, must first of all tune ourselves to this very different reality that is emerging in the world. And to do that, I think this kind of seminars, this kind of programs will go a long way. So let me congratulate the organizers, my dear friend Roshan, who is bringing Roshni to this whole idea and putting focus on this to make sure that we all debate and discuss the issues and do it in a manner that will take us forward, not backward. That's very important. If we start only going back and only think that we were a great country, we were a great country. We should be proud of it. But we were a great country is not something which we should make us proud. But we should make us more proud by saying that we were a great country, but now we want to make a better country. We want to change the society in a way that society will constantly keep moving upwards and start realizing towards the ultimate goal of humanity, that is to make the whole world better. Gautam Buddha was an ordinary, not ordinary really, but he was one of the many princes of the so many kingdoms that were existing in the world at that particular time. But why did it become such a great spiritual guide to all of us is only because he decided to leave something behind, not just his throne, not just the kind of life that he was living, but he decided to leave behind his own thoughts. He decided that I am going to change myself to become another individual in the same body by changing my thought process. And that's how he became one of the best living human beings at that time and even continues to guide us even today. So it's possible that every human being can change himself in his own life, and he can change only himself in his own life only, because that's the only time he has got with him. He can change himself or herself only when he changes his thinking, the mindset. Only when it leaves behind that baggage of past that you can embrace the future by working at the present. So to change that, if you want to change that, you have to leave something behind and embrace something else. What is that can cause? One, probably your own self, which can motivate you as Gautam Buddha did. Or we allow that to happen through the process education, that's one part. But second part would be, can education trigger that change in an individual so that he transcends himself beyond the boundaries that he has drawn around him of thinking in a limited way? And that's the challenge of education. That's the role of education. That's the future of education. I hope you all do that, and I wish you follow that path. So I thank the CEGR, the organizers, for doing it from ongoing basis. It's a Vichar Manthan. In my opinion, it's not a seminar, not a webinar. It's a Vichar Manthan. It's a Vichar Yagya, which will really stir people into thinking differently. I hope all of you do that. Thank you very much, my dear friends, for inviting me. Thank you very much for continuing this on this path of changing the education for better world, making sure that we become part of a global society without forgetting our roots, making sure that we take a plunge into future, but not plunge into uncertainty, but plunge into future in a way that will really take us to a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Suresh Prabhu sir, for the visionary views on taking education base forward. We have invited only selected person over the Zoom, but a large number of audience have joined over the various social media. We have a question from a student from remote area of Bihar for Suresh Prabhu sir. How we may promote quality education in aspirational districts? If we can give the relaxation, infrastructure relaxation and other relaxation for setting up the academic institutions in metro cities and capital cities, so why we can't consider to have the relaxation in aspirational districts, so that more and more colleges can open in the aspirational districts and can serve to the nation. Over to you, Suresh Prabhu sir.
Sorry?
There is a question from the student from the remote areas, how we can promote the quality education in remote areas.
How can we promote
quality education in aspirational districts?
See, firstly, there is a role for the government to make sure that universalization of education happens in a proper manner, for sure. That's a role that every individual uh, member of the government also has to make sure that it happens. While saying that, we have seen the universalization. And that is what you're asking about, going to remote areas, right? So universalization does not mean only creating some sort of symbols of education. What is important is creating classroom, creating teachers is all important. But ultimately, what is the delivery? What do they deliver end of the day? That is more important. And therefore, spreading widely into the field of education to make sure all remote areas are covered is essential. But what is even more important while we do that is to make sure that the ultimate delivery of the service, the quality of education is not compromised. And in fact, it increases. It doesn't mean we go to remote areas where the quality is remote and it's not of substandard quality because somewhere we are providing it. I remember when I was a power minister in 2000, when there used to be huge power shortages, people used to say, give me power. I said, not giving power is not enough. That is very important. But quality of power is equally important. If I give power which comes and goes anytime, that people don't see and they only see when they feel that I have power, when they get bill at the end of the month, that you have to pay for this. That is not a proof of having power in your village or in a house. What is important, therefore, is how do you make sure that quality, that's why I used to say that quality of power. In fact, I focused on that and I see the transformation in the power sector in the last 20 years, thanks to the initiative I had taken at that time. But today, I would feel that we must focus on education, focusing on quality, which incidentally is a good part of our education policy, is the quality. Quality is more important than just spreading ourselves thin by ensuring that we are there in every village and every part, which is essential, but without compromising on the quality of education. And what is quality? I just mentioned in my earlier remarks that quality is not just cannot be measured by the National Accreditation Council by going there at the end of the day. Quality is something which can be given only by proof. Proof of the concept is when each and every individual has the ability to think differently, societies become better, societies become build better nation like India, and we become part of a global community in a way that we also contribute to their betterment. When we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what do we mean by that? We cannot just use this as a cliche. We must use this as a part of our priority, of our thinking to make that happen.
Thank you so much, sir. We are starting the interactive session and each speaker are getting 2 to 3 minute time to present their views. So with your permission, we are starting with Mr. VM Bansal, Chairman, New Delhi Institute of Management and Senior Vice President to CEGR and a strong pillar of the CEGR. Over to you, VM Bansal, sir.
Thank you so much. I have nothing to say after hearing from my guru, my friend, my guide, Suresh Prabhu Saab. Okay, he has been a part of our board of directors, would you believe, for the last 6 years or 7 years now. And the most astounding, astonishing and grateful thing that can ever happen is while being railway minister, while being commerce minister, while being aviation minister, he continued to attend all the board meetings of this private business school of the country, which no union cabinet minister will ever do. Okay, and his doors for improvement, for guidance have always been opened. Even our last board meeting 4 months back, Suresh Prabhu sat through for 2.5 hours. So, I mean, the learning that he has given, perhaps I have nothing to add to that. Only thing, as he mentioned, is that I'll only repeat one small thing is onus of right education depends on the parents and the teacher. No bigger role, all of you as education leaders or all of us as education leaders can create an environment only. Thereafter, the entire thing rests on the shoulders of the teacher, the faculty who's in touch with the student on minute-to-minute basis. So till we get into the character building, as rightly said, nothing much would happen because the social media or the digital media has taken away all the attention of today's student or the new generation. We have to find a new means to keep them interested. and which I was discussing before the event is, according to me, most of the future management education will rest on the shoulders of technology. So we, for that purpose, as decided the last board meeting, we have set up a center for excellence on emerging technologies embedment into management, how various skills and technologies can become a permanent part of the management systems. So thank you very much. I'll not take more time because Suresh Prabhuji has said everything, whatever we have been learning from him. I'm very grateful to him for coming here. As Senior Vice President of CGR, I am very, very grateful to him, and all the best to great education leaders. My turn continues to be of learning from each one of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you,
No.
Bansal sir.
Bansal Saab,
Sir.
there is I just want to say last point and then I leave.
Sir.
Is one day we must have a program in CGR, and also not just one program, but an event of programs. See, basically, when we talk about such broad themes, some of the issues don't get properly covered. One point is, as my friend said earlier, we need best infrastructure because we'll have for university. The challenge is when we have the best infrastructure, somebody has to first invest. Who is going to invest in that infrastructure? Number one. Number two, when you invest in that infrastructure, obviously somebody must get return out of it. So if you want returns, what's the way of getting the return? Is it only from the student fees? Then can student afford those fees? And if the students cannot afford the fees, what is the best way to ensure that there is inclusion in education that can happen by ensuring that everybody can participate? That's the second part. The third part, therefore, would be that having done all this, what is the way that we can make sure that end of the day, that one is the investment, that's why this is actually a monetary issue. The second part is the quality education that is always necessary. How do you balance all this together? And therefore, I think one day we must think about it. I know, Bansal Saab, you have been running this institution that you head, New Delhi Institute of Management. It's fantastic institution. You are doing it like a missionary for so many years. And I know you for such a long time, so I know your commitment and your values. I am saying for you to run this is like doing a juggler job all the time, making sure that how do you manage the difficult tasks? I don't know. So how do you make sure in future that such issues will get addressed? I think one seminar, not just seminar, CGR on an ongoing basis must focus the kind of investment that is necessary to create infrastructure, and how do you make sure that who makes those infrastructure? If private person wants to make it, he will obviously expect some returns. Would the government would like to do it? The government will have such resources to make that happen. And at the end of the day, how the student will not be disadvantaged because of this. At the same time, making sure that foreign universities welcome and the challenge with that will pose, how that we balance. So I think we need to think about
very
this.
Fine, sir. We'll do it very soon,
not
sir.
Just now. I'm just posing an issue, but we'll do that some other time. Thank you.
We'll seek your time, sir, and we'll come back with that very soon at the CGR platform.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All the way. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you all the participants. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Anupam Chokse.
Thank you.
Now we invite Dr. Anupam Chokse, Pro Chancellor, LNCT University, to present his view. Over to you, Anupam Chokse, sir.
Thank you, Ravi ji. As I am traveling from Gwalior to Bhopal, my connection may be excused. I may not be properly visible and audible, but still I want to put up some points. This webinar on priority in education is relevant, very relevant. Yes, day before yesterday, I was Dr. Patnaik in some another webinar, and there was also these discussions. As our Honorable National President CGR has already told. Am I audible, Ravi ji?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Already outlined that changes happening in education system, infusion of technologies coming up big names from international repute coming to India for setting up institutions, and we have to change ourselves very fast and very smoothly. There should not be hiccups, so that the students don't feel the change against them, like they don't feel like something against them is happening. With that, we have to also keep in mind that we don't lose our essential for our foundation stones of education, discipline, teaching techniques, and different things. moral studies, human connect, peer connect, respect of teachers. These are the things I think they should be also kept in mind with the changing times. As Suresh Prabhuji has already pointed out that highlights of principles of education, and we have to face the challenges in coming out of as the leaders we were in the field of education. I request the stalwarts like Marwaji and the experts from industry to guide other institutions like ours, because we are sitting in a Bhopal city and you are sitting in Delhi or some Mumbai or Bangalore. The changes in technology you are seeing continuously. So you can guide us how and what to change in our infrastructures. Similarly, the experts in education field, they can guide us in field of education, what to teach, what to expect from our faculty members, and how to change for providing the opportunity for keeping some points. And as a lot of eminent speakers are there, I would like to listen to them also. And I will thank you very much, Ravi ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anupam Chokse, Pro Chancellor, LNCT University and National Vice President, CEGR. Now I request Mr. Anand Soni, Pro Chancellor, AKS University and National Vice President, CEGR, to present his view. Over to you, Anand Soni, sir.
Unmute, please.
Sir, you are mute.
Anand Soni, sir.
Anand Soni ji, yeah.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Off on करिए sir, off on.
We may proceed with another speaker and then we will get back to him. Now I request Mr. Nishant Bansal, Pro Chancellor, Geeta University, to present his view. Over to you, Nishant Bansal, sir.
Dr. Sandeep Marwa, President, CEGR, and Mr. Ravish Roshan, Director, CEGR, and other members and panelists. And first of all, I congratulate to the organizer for this kind of webinar that is very helpful for the education institution and the other peer group. Everything is discussed in the system, but I would like to say the priority in education, if I talk about it, differs from area to area. Like some areas, remote area, like one student asks how to promote education, quality education in remote areas. And like in some metro cities, the priority is different. But in overall, I will discuss the priority, the today need for this education system is career counseling for the students. We can see the students, those who are in class 12, their mindset is not clear. What are the courses available? How to select the best course according to his ability and capability, and what are the scope of that courses. So one thing is focused on career counseling, and the career counseling can happen when the schools and the higher education institution, universities and colleges will collaborate together. Like we can have summer schools for the students of 12th class students, 11th class students, 10th class students, so that we can tell the students in that summer school, like summer internship in the summer vacations, we can tell the students about what is required, what is the courses available in this upcoming era of education, where we are talking about new national education policy 2020. And the new national education policy is very, very beautiful policy, and the priority should be to implement this national education policy among the universities, because we are the youngest university in Haryana. We just started in 2022, and we are trying to implement the 100% new national education policy, where we should implement this multiple entry exit system among the students. Is very important, because when a student take admission in any course and he want to switch in another course, in another program after 1 year, after 2 years, so there should be option. So we should, on priority, we should implement this new education policy in the system. Then the teaching should be practical based. We should have practical based education system among the universities and schools even. And then we have interdisciplinary approach. Then we have research-based learning in the system. Then the very important point is education as per industry requirement. Nowadays, what is happen? We are in traditional universities, I will say, because earlier we were affiliated to some traditional university. Earlier, this traditional university, they are teaching the very outdated curriculum that is not required in the company's industry nowadays. So we have to teach to the students as per the requirement of industry from the very first year. So these are the some point I can say. And Dr. Marwa very well said that many foreign universities are coming in India, and this is a challenge for us. And side by side, I will say this is an opportunity also for the education. So we should think that this is a opportunity for us, and we will improve, and we will get the chance to associate with these good foreign universities. Because time is very less, many things to speak. I have just concluded, and many panelists has to tell. So I once again thanks the organizer of CGR, Mr. Ravish Roshan and Dr. Sandeep Barwa, and other panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nishant Bansal sir, Pro-Chancellor Geeta University, for the views. Now I request Mr. Anant Soni, Pro-Chancellor AKS University, for the views. Over to you, sir.
Sir, good morning. Now
Yes,
I am
sir.
audible?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. सर सुरेश प्रभु जी यहाँ पर नहीं है, लेकिन रवीश जी आपके और मारवा जी के थ्रू जो है वो हम सब की बात वहां तक जरूर पहुंचेगी और उनके थ्रू गवर्नमेंट तक पहुंचेगी। सुरेश प्रभु जी ने एक बात कही थी कि माइंडसेट चेंज करने के लिए, और ये बात बिल्कुल सही है कि जब तक माइंडसेट चेंज नहीं होगा तब तक एजुकेशन में बहुत बड़ा परिवर्तन आने वाला नहीं है। और ये माइंडसेट गवर्नमेंट से लेकर के स्टूडेंट्स तक चेंज होना आवश्यक है। गवर्नमेंट लेवल पर भी अभी भी माइंडसेट प्राइवेट वर्सेस गवर्नमेंट एवरीवेयर दिखाई देता है। अभी रिसेंटली मैं आपको बता दूं कि अभी एक नोटिफिकेशन जारी हुआ है PCI का, शायद आपको सभी यूनिवर्सिटीज को पता नहीं होगा, कि उसमें जहां पर भी फार्मेसी से संबंधित कोर्स चल रहे हैं उनके सिक्योरिटी डिपॉजिट 100 सीट्स के लिए 1 करोड़ कर दी गई है प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशंस में। गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन में 0 है, और जो पुराने इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं उनको भी जमा करना है। हर बार की जो फी है, जो पहले हमको लगभग 15-20 हजार रुपए लगती थी, वो प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटीज, प्राइवेट कॉलेजेस को 6 लाख रुपीस कर दी गई है पर ईयर, और गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस को 3 लाख है, कुछ जगह पे 50,000 है, 50,000 से लेकर के 3 लाख रुपए तक है। लेकिन जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर है वो 3 लाख से लेकर के 6 लाख रुपए है एक कोर्स का। यदि M.Pharm वगैरह कोर्स है तो उसकी है 20 लाख रुपए, 15 लाख रुपए, सॉरी 15 लाख रुपए पर स्पेशलाइजेशन है। तो मतलब अभी भी जो गवर्नमेंट के दिमाग में ये बात है प्राइवेट वर्सेस गवर्नमेंट, ये माइंडसेट से निकलेंगे नहीं जब तक, तब तक हमारे यहाँ पर एजुकेशन को, जो किसी बच्चे ने, बिहार के बच्चे ने पूछा कि हम लोग लोअर लेवल पर हैं तो हमारे यहाँ तक कैसे एजुकेशन पहुंचेगा, ये माइंडसेट चेंज करना बहुत जरूरी है सरकार के लेवल पे, पॉलिसी लेवल पर। दूसरी बात ये है कि जहां पर हमारे मैनेजमेंट का लेवल है, मैनेजमेंट लेवल पर भी एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के हिसाब से वो स्पिरिट लाना बहुत जरूरी है। ये प्रायोरिटीज में है। जब तक ये स्पिरिट नहीं आएगी कि मुझे अपने यहाँ के न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के हिसाब से परिवर्तन करना है, देन टीचर्स और देन स्टूडेंट्स, ये पूरी एक चेन है। अभी हमारा पूरा फोकस है स्टूडेंट्स को नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी पे लाने का, लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स वो न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी पे आएगा नहीं जब तक कि हमारे टीचर्स नहीं आएंगे, जब तक कि हमारा मैनेजमेंट नहीं आएगा, जब तक कि हमारा गवर्नमेंट नहीं आएगी। गवर्नमेंट लेवल पर अभी एक 4 वर्टिकल्स बनने थे। न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी का पूरा इम्प्लीमेंटेशन तब तक संभव नहीं है जब तक कि 4 वर्टिकल्स नहीं बन सकते। ये बात मैंने कई सेमिनार में ये बात कही है, जिसमें रेगुलेटर अलग हो, एक्रेडिटेशन एजेंसीज अलग हो, और फंडिंग एजेंसीज अलग हो, और जनरल काउंसिल्स अलग हो। ये जब तक एक अलग अलग स्ट्रक्चर में अभी भी जितने रेगुलेटर्स बैठे हुए हैं वो जब तक नहीं आएंगे एक रेगुलेटर के अंडर में, तब तक न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, चूंकि अभी तक ये वैधानिक डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं बना है। आपको जानकर आश्चर्य होगा कि ये सिर्फ अभी एक पॉलिसी है, लेकिन न तो ये संसद से पारित हुई है, जब तक ये संसद से पारित नहीं होगी तब तक यह कानूनी जामा नहीं पहनाया जा सकता और इसको सही तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट हो ही नहीं सकती, क्योंकि हर रेगुलेटर अपने अपने हिसाब से काम कर रहा है। लेकिन इसके बीच में भी मैं कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करना चाहूंगा सभी विश्वविद्यालयों को कि जो उसका एसेंस लेकर के अपने यहाँ कम से कम उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जिसमें हम भी अपने आप को शामिल रखते हैं। हमने भी न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के हिसाब से अपने स्ट्रक्चर में चेंज किया है। और मैं आपको एक चीज शेयर करना चाहूंगा कि हमने 10 साल पहले जो अपने यहाँ पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन किया था कई जगह, वह आज जाके AICT में, UGC में, उसमें रेगुलेशंस में चेंज हो रहा है। तो हमको भी ये अच्छा लगता है कि हम लोग जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं वो बहुत दूर की सोच करके कम से कम काम कर रहे हैं। इस विश्वविद्यालय में हमारे यहाँ पे लगभग 8000 बच्चे हैं और लगातार रूरल एरिया में हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। हमारी प्रायोरिटीज स्किल डेवलपमेंट, रिसर्च और ह्यूमैनिटी जो मेजर एस्पेक्ट है किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन का, कि हम एक वेल ह्यूमन बीइंग तैयार करें, उसके लिए हम लोग हमेशा लगातार प्रयास करते रहते हैं। और मेरा ऐसा सोचना है कि एजुकेशन के सेक्टर में ये प्रायोरिटीज होनी बहुत आवश्यक है। अपन कितना भी अच्छा पढ़ा लें, कितना भी अच्छा इंजीनियर बना लें, और यदि उसके अंदर ह्यूमन बीइंग, मानव को मानव समझने का और उसके आगे उसकी बात को ध्यान में रखते हुए काम करने का नहीं रहेगा, तो मुझे लगता है कि हम वही मशीन बना रहे हैं जो कभी भी गलत डायरेक्शन में गलत प्रोग्राम हो जाएगा तो वो डिसास्टर्स की तरफ बढ़ जाएगा। और मारवा साहब के जो पंक्तियां रहती हैं वो बहुत दिल में छू जाने वाली रहती हैं, दिमाग को हिला देने वाली रहती हैं। मैं इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ में अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूँ। थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, Anand Soni sir. Now I request Mr. Dr. Manish Kothari, founder and MD ISBR Business School, to present his view. Over to you, sir.
Thank you everyone, and sabko namaste. Namaskara from the city of Bangalore, south of India. Thank you, Ravish, CEGR, Sandeep Marwaji. I think amazing topics you bring out at all times, and whenever you bring out these topics, they are so real and things what we do day in, day out. There is no promoter or there is no director who does not think of the priorities day in, day out. And you make us reflect upon these work, you make us think about it, you make us talk to the audience. I think this should happen in a regular way. And CEGR is the only forum which I see that is doing it on a regular basis. Thank you once again, and I'm proud to be associated with CEGR. I think when you speak about priority, I have listed down my priorities into quick 5 points. And taking no time, I'll jump into the first one. And the first one I would like to say is the priority number 1 is making government schools a world-class institutions across the country. A few of our governments have taken up this activity. I feel the real heroes are born in these institutions. The real heroes are developed in these institutions. And this government school where the education is really affordable is the place where the first spark starts. How we can make these schools a reality? How, looking at countries like Germany, France, Europe, wherein access to this education, government school education is first premium compared to private education, is what we need to build in India. And of course, that should be a joint work of all educationists like us. And we should see that we make it happen. The second point that I would like to speak about is very important, wherein NEP also has spoken about this, is teacher training infrastructure, teacher training institutions. See, if the teachers are not trained, the students finally suffers, the stakeholders suffers, and teachers are the most important pillars of an institution. Out of our audiences, many audiences have today raised this question of how we can better the teacher training institution and how we can better this. People like Azim Premji Institutions has given us remarkable answers to this question, how we educationists can ponder more into it and see that there is continuous training for every teacher happening at regular intervals, and only then things can grow, and that's another priority. The third priority, which I take, has become very important post-pandemic and institutions should really be working on, is how we can integrate IT at all levels of the institutions. What I see presently is 60% of the faculty's time goes into operational matters. 60% of the institute times goes into addressing operational matters, where IT can make things very systematic very humble, and people can then concentrate more on teaching and research. People like Hemant in Kolpol have made a humble beginning, but I still think they have a long way to go, and technology has to be an end-to-end solution in an education institutions. We also have made a humble beginning with them, but I think there's a lot of things to happen. So how we integrate IT at all levels is my third point. The fourth point, which I took it from a speaker yesterday I was with the HCL and the other corporates, and I asked them this question, and they said very interesting thing. They said how we can work on integrity and values of a present generation. The present generation has come out so strong, and they are focused on what I am good at, what I can do, and it's all I across their system. How this can be having a value system built in, how they can be integrated. I think education institutions play a very, very vital role. The government of Delhi have introduced happy hours, integrated hours. I think across the country, how we make this happen is one of the priority points. Our previous speaker and our minister also spoke about it. And the fifth point, which is very, very important and a priority for all of us, is how do we make research real? We do have research papers, we do have patents across our country, but how much of it is competent compared to international countries is what we need to work on and we need to dwell upon. I think with these 5 points, I'm sure there are so many other pain points and priority points that we are addressing. With this, I thank once again everyone for giving a quiet learning. And yes, all of us are doing our bit. Together, we'll build a stronger, better country for the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Manish Kothari, founder and MD, ISBR Business School. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Arya Patnaik, Secretary, Rourkela Institute of Management Studies, to present his view. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Sir, there is some technique. Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Am I?
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please tell, sir.
Ravi. Okay. Thank you. First of all, I will give my heartiest respect to Suresh Prabhuji, who was kind enough to join CGR in this nice organized concept. And definitely, my heart thanks to Sandeep Ji, President CGR, and of course, Ravi Ji is the key man to organize all these webinars in different subjects and try to educate all of us by listening from different veterans, vice chancellors, all who are present over here, like a lot of dignity chancellors and prominent educationists. So I will not take much of time because all of them are very known to all of us and they are really contributing a lot for our education system. Today's topic is in education. Definitely a good topic, but before I would like to give some points, I would like to say that in Indian higher education system, in the recent past, in the last 2.5 years, there is a drastic change has in place. That is, immediately we have shifted to a dynamic education system of online mode. By that, lot of advantages, lot of students they could be able to connect internationally, nationally. So what has happened? This definitely will rise, and our new NP is also trying, the new educational policy trying to give better growth to the education system. But here, I would like to say that as per education report, recent past, there are around 1,043 universities and 42,343 colleges, 11,779 standalone colleges in India, which majorly are contributed by the private sectors, and this is definitely is a very big number as far as education sector in the world is concerned. So India is definitely growing education sector, but there are some points which we need to focus on it. The basic thing is, in as far as our world rank, able to remain within the 301, 350 range, whereas there is wise record by the city ranking concerned. Whereas in China, able to succeed around 16 institutions were not in world ranking. Out of that, 6 could able to remain within 100, and 2 able to remain within 20. Others were within 350 range. This is a number, is definitely a good number as far as China is concerned. But why we can't go to hold those ranks in world ranking? This is basically what is my thing, that we should have to give trust on certain areas, like basically how we'll be able to meet the requirement to have a world ranking. The basic thing is we need to change the mindset of our students. How we can change the mindset? We have to be more practical oriented, skill oriented. In order that's what we are having more things. We have to keep remember the things. We are putting our mindset up, and the training system was such that we will be more memory oriented. But now the things has changed, that we should be skilled. If we can train our students in that direction, we will be able to achieve many better, be able to get better students. We be the university and the institutes will be able to hold good ranking in entire. So this is one of the these things needs some kind of additional expenditure. So expenditure has to be properly have to arrange, because there are a lot many agencies funding our universities needs to support. There are a lot many universities able to do a lot many research, but somehow or other the proper coordination is somewhere lacking, because the government of India is trying on lot of CSR also coming. So how we will be able to coordinate that? We will be correlating with that, so that we can focus on more skill oriented in order to get a world level institute, and we will be able to remain with best 100 institutes. Here another 2-3 points which I would like to focus is research generation. Whenever we are trying to do research, there is a research work needs to be done by not only by students but by faculty also, because the faculties need to also get trained, and the industry need to show that some of the problems which are in the industry, that they should share with institutions. Institutions can do lot of things if the industries are able to support them out. So for a skilled based education, the industry support is much essential, because the effect for a coin, both sides of the coin, one is industry and other is education. This is my concept, that without industry, one institution cannot grow. Without a industry cannot grow. So the skill in the present scenario is a very important thing to work on that. How we will be working on that? We need to find out some means, and these are the such forums where we will be able to highlight the requirement. And I understand that is a lead which every individual, all under the states should take up, in order to see that how in all the cities and institutions the skill will develop, and have more research oriented thought process, So digital skilling is very, very important. These steps has all been taken by Government of India, and making India digital hub global. The Prime Minister is trying, the Education Minister is trying. So to make there are not many other points which our speakers have told. I am not interested to highlight on those points. But however, in this entire we are as we are administrator and has to identify the opportunities available and which is offered by government and make best use of such things so that a vibrant Indian education system can be built, and definitely things are changing, it will change, and with the support IT and making the students motivation towards development of skill from practice
Sir, your
orientation
voice is
is
completely
required.
breaking,
The
sir.
theory type of methodology
Arya, sir, your voice is
changed.
completely breaking. So please conclude, sir.
Some network problem.
Yeah, network problem, sir. So please conclude in.
Going.
Yes, sir.
I am unable to actually hear you with network. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Arya Patnaik, Secretary, Rahul Kela Institute of Management Studies,
Okay.
for the views. And
I think I am unable to hear you. There is network problem.
We look forward to your views in the return, and we will circulate to all the stakeholders, sir. Now I request Mr. Hemant Sahal, founder and CEO, Colpole, to present his view. Over to Mr. Hemant Sahal, founder and CEO, Colpole.
Right. Thank you, Ravish Bhai, for the inviting me for this. There's so much learning as a technology player in the higher education space. There's so much for me to learn whenever I come for these deliberations organized by CEGR. And I just want to make 2 points. While there is so much good things happening in the higher education, there are 2 areas where we are working with almost 100+ top universities and institutions today in the country. And what 2 areas where I see should be priority is that, one, I see there is a very high inertia in our institutions when it comes to change management. And I think institutions, especially the leaders of the institutions, have to invest in building capacity for change management. So because there's a very high instinct in our institutions to protect how things are happening today, which actually slows down the change. And so that is one big area where I feel institutions should prioritize. How do we build capacity in our institutions for change management? Because as we know, things are changing fast. They will actually continue to change even faster in the future. So investing in building capacity for change management is very, very important. And second thing, which I always believe everything else is secondary, it is the people that come first. Our higher education institutions have to prioritize on investing how to attract the best talent for administrative as well as academic roles at institutions. Which means we'll have to rethink the how we are actually setting our policies for our members of the institutions, how we are remunerating them, how are we creating other, what kind of quality talent acquisition teams are we building inside our institutions? Because talent is something which is going to be the key player. And as a technology, a startup, we see that talent is, and as you know today with all the organizations, that there are so many new universities coming up. So I feel, so these are 2 key points I wanted to bring in. How do we build capacity to manage change faster and better? That's one key priority institutions must have. Second is, how do we rethink our talent acquisition strategy at institution so that we can attract the best people for our academic as well as administrative roles, is the second key. With this, thank you so much for invitation. And I think the time is short and there's so much learning for me to take away. And I'll end it. There's so many good things happening, and Sandeep ji ka ek thoda एक वो जलवा है, तो I have also some line to share, which is like कि मंजिल तो मिल ही जाएगी भटक कर ही सही, मंजिल तो मिल ही जाएगी भटक कर ही सही, गुमराह तो वो हैं जो घर से निकले ही नहीं. And I think we all are out of our houses and homes, and I'm very sure that we will continue to make strides in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hemant, for the views and on the topic integrating technology with the education. Now, I request Dr. Sandeep Marwa, National President, CEGR, and Chancellor AFT University to present the concluding remarks, and we will close the session. Over to you, Dr. Sandeep Marwa.
Yeah. Thank you, Ravish, once again. What a wonderful and a brainstorming session. I think this session has really taught us a lot. And people were so to the point this time, and they have uttered best of the points possible for all of us, which we can instantly and immediately actually execute into our own education system and can upgrade our standard of education. I think I started with being a nationalist. I will stick to that. Yes, we have to be nationalists first before we jump for any kind of improvement or extension in our centers. Then the next very important point, which I think all of us have almost spoken to, bring in the culture into the education, which is a very, very important part in today's life. And being a human being, if we cannot create good human beings in our education institution, then that means we are still very weak in our presentations and our education. The many other points which I think I have noted very well, bringing in a wonderful environment, an excellent infrastructure, upgradation of curriculum and syllabus to compete with the rest of the world. And I have given a new term to extracurricular activities, the supporting education. This is a new word which I am giving to CEGR, that the supporting education means that we have to put in a lot of extracurricular activities, workshops, seminars, symposium, interaction programs, guest faculty, foreign faculty, festivals, visits, because all that is going to actually teach students a wonderful things of life, what probably chalk and talk cannot actually give you otherwise. And then, of course, upgradation of equipment, the techniques of teaching, the faculty standards, and the administration standards, which have already been now part of our discussion. And everyone is agreed on the mindset. It's very important to build up a lot of enthusiasm, energy, excitement into the whole show. The whole education must be loved by students as well as the people who are on the other side of the table. And a global attitude and aptitude, which all we have to bring in mind, that we are now, and we are not that old India. We are a very smart India today. And in last almost 1 year, I've been to 6-7 countries, and Indians are very well received by the people, and their expectations from Indians and Indian students are now much higher than what it used to be 10 years back. So we have to see to it that we are absolutely at a global standard. And one more point which I would love to add here, that it's very important to, when we are creating a mindset, to put in how to serve the society. This is very important. We don't want to create a self-centered and ruthless people out of our institution, but we want to teach them that how to serve the society. If we can do all these things on a priority basis, I swear I'm feeling, I'm getting that kind of a vibes that Indian education system in a span of just few months and maybe a year and a half will be one of the finest place to attract the students once again from all over the world. I generally say that we have tried to change Noida into Nalanda once again. We have touched almost now 145 countries as far as our enrollment is concerned. And we are trying to compete with the best of the foreign institutions in the world. We have already been rated as the first 10 best film schools of the world. And I think God has been very kind with all your support and blessings. Last but not the least, 2 lines, which I'm recollecting again, very important, because we all are putting our best. We all are passionate educationists. And for all of you, ke raze ulfat chupa ke dekh liya. राज़े उल्फत छुपा के देख लिया, दिल बहुत कुछ जला के देख लिया, और क्या देखने को बाकी है, आपसे दिल लगा के देख लिया. And there is nothing bigger than falling in love with your own profession, own business, I think, and we all are passionate educationists. Thank you very much, each and everyone present here, right from our dear friend Suresh Prabhuji, all the chancellors, vice chancellors, directors, and people who've been listening to this webinar. My heartiest thanks to each and everyone. Let's work hard once again, passionately, and bring the country of India, Republic of India, on the world map as far as education is concerned. Thank you very much and goodbye. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Marwa, National President, CEGR, and Chancellor, AFT University. We are grateful to all the panelists for accepting our invitation and addressing the webinar. We are grateful to Mr. Suresh Prabhu, Honorable Member of Parliament, for regularly guiding the CEGR and supporting the CEGR into the various initiatives. We are grateful to Dr. Sandeep Marwa, National President, CEGR, and Chancellor, AFT University, for always motivating us with his presence and guidance. We are also grateful to Mr. V.M. Bansal, Chairman, New Delhi Institute of Management and Senior Vice President, CEGR. Thank you, sir. Then we have Dr. Manish Kothari, founder and MD, ISBR Business School. So we are thankful to you, Dr. Manish Kothari, sir, for supporting the CEGR. We are grateful to Dr. Arya Patnaik, Secretary, Rourkela Institute of Management Studies. Thank you, sir. We are grateful to Mr. Nishant Bansal, Pro-Chancellor, Gita University. Thank you, sir. We are also grateful to Mr. Hemant Sahal, founder and CEO, Polpol, for supporting the various initiatives of CEGR. We are also grateful to the large number of audience who have joined over the various social media. We have kept the invitation limited on the Zoom, but we have a large audience over the various social media. One of the session was attended by more than 27,000 participants from all over India over the various social media. So thank you everyone for joining this this webinar, and soon we are announcing the new dates, and now we are into the blended mode, so physical events with the virtual events. So the combination, every month we will have the 2-3 physical events, 2-3 virtual events. So there will be the combination, and for more details please visit www.cegr.in, where you will get all the information about our upcoming events on the upcoming event section side, and from there you can register and you can get all the links and get all the information. Thank you, and thanks for accepting our invitation. So we will meet in the next event. So soon we will announce the information about that date. Thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone, and God bless all of you.
Thank you,
Bye.
best wishes everybody.
Bye.
Jai Hind.